topics that we're going to talk about. Julian, you want to pop up the slides? We can see what our agenda is going to be. Can you put it into, there we go. All right, why don't you advance? Yeah, so we have a number of topics. We're going to just get a quick update on peri-op services that some may want to stick around for, and then we'll be talking more about faculty promotion issues and a variety of other updates. So let me turn it over to Dr. Milner and John Brickman to give us an update on the OR.
Great, thank you very much, Jeff. I'm going to start, and then John is going to give some details about some of our staffing and capacity issues, which I know many of you are familiar with, but we'll give you some updates, some of which with staffing is actually looking a little bit positive for a change. I just wanted to start with an introduction. Actually, everybody knows Dr. Hussain, but some of you may not be aware that Dr. Hussain has accepted a leadership role within the operating room now to help with the CDOR. His official title is Surgical Director of CDOR. And as you all know, the pandemic is a great way to get a rapid orientation to the operating room function. And Mustafa has quickly had an opportunity to be involved in a lot of our planning as we've struggled over the past couple of weeks. So it's been a great addition to the team, and really appreciate his interest and commitment to this. And thank you, Mustafa, for getting involved, and he's communicated with many of you. Jeff, I think you had some additional.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I think what we've done really well over the last couple of years is get a broad participation and seeing another number of leaders emerge in our collaborative perioperative leadership structure, obviously overseen by a great partnership between Ross, you, and John, and the whole hospital team there. But now we have designated leaders in each of the 3 ORs that you then collectively oversee. So Dr. Hussain now overseeing CDOR, Dr. Mack continuing in her role overseeing Comer OR, and Dr. Jennifer Wolf from Orthopedics overseeing the DCAM. And it's been a very effective strategy to get broad buy-in and to deal with lots of minute-by-minute logistical issues. That combined with Dr. Donington's leading the utilization committee, I think has been really effective and gotten lots of experienced voices at the table, and we're seeing new leaders grow into this space there. So it's been really effective, and we're very excited that Dr. Hussain's taken this role. So thanks.
Great, thanks, Jeff. All right, Julian, you can advance to the next slide. And John, I think this is you, my friend. Or I could do this one, and then you can take over from here if you'd like. So as you know, we've actually had a huge increase in the number of COVID patients. This actually fairly significantly surpassed what we saw last year, but we think we're finally at a plateau. As you can see, the numbers demonstrate that. And Emily Landon joined us yesterday for our operating room operations committee meeting, and she's fairly confident we're at a plateau at this point. So hopefully we'll see continued improvement. Really, the 2 biggest issues we have right now is there's still significant ICU capacity issues, and we have some limitations with that and have to do some adjustments with our schedule this week to deal with the ICU capacity issues. And as well as many of you know already, we've had some blood bank issues, which are going to be a little bit worse because type A and type B blood are now becoming problematic and are being restricted in terms of how much is being distributed to us. So we may have to continue to be thoughtful with our trauma transplant, except I'm picking those 2 services, but every service needs to be thoughtful in terms of our blood utilization because we definitely have that as a constrained resource. Next slide. All right, John, you, my friend.
You made it.
Sorry. So obviously tracking a lot of moving pieces here with the this wave of the pandemic, different from, I think, wave 1. What we've really seen in terms of an impact to our operations is really the staff infection rates. And so I'll give just a peek behind where I think we're at and some projections for CDOR, as well as sterile processing, which has been hit heavily, pretty hard during the pandemic, but we're starting to see spikes in various departments. So as CDOR goes down, we're seeing a little bit more of an increase in our PACU. And so again, this is something that we update every day and manage on a daily basis. But here's a look at CDOR's staffing outlook between new recruitment as well as our COVID-19 infection rate. You can see in the lower data set, the two bars, the yellow is actually our COVID-19 infection rate. The green is actually our staff on orientation and recruitment. And so you'll see we get a nice little shot in the arm January 31st with some people coming off orientation, but also a bunch of new people coming on board. Once those new people are assessed and they're here on site, this chart will change pretty dramatically. This takes us out through the end of April. But the reality is not everyone is going to need the same orientation. And so we should be in a much better place as we enter into the spring related to staffing. Obviously, that's within the potential that we could lose more people, et cetera. But the hope is that our recruitment, we've eclipsed our loss with additional recruits. Next slide. And you can see in CSP a much shorter orientation and much shorter rise back to the target number of just over 80 employees. Again, another area where we've seen a lot of movement in the industry, a lot of resignations, a lot of people leaving healthcare in general. But Michelle, who is the AD of CSP, has worked very hard to try to get good people in. And a huge recruitment effort that happened in early December ended up netting us an additional 18 employees that were in the process of onboarding, training, et cetera. And so I think come January, end of January, we'll be in a much better place in sterile processing as well. We still have a ton of agency. We're supplementing with agency, but bodies are important, and the goal, this initial goal here before we get everyone trained and everything else, is just to get bodies in place so we have the labor force to be able to continue to operate. Next slide. Okay, so with scheduling plans, and I know a lot of this has been, day by day, week by week, as we continue to monitor the trends, but the goal is still to manage through the current bed capacity constraints and prioritize cases that meet those specific MENTS criteria as availability allows, obviously. For this week, we sent a message out late last week just outlining kind of what to expect. We'll remain at 18 rooms in the CDOR through this Friday. We will have the holiday on the 17th, so MLK Day. And then we'll go up +2 rooms to 20 rooms effective on Tuesday through next Friday. We'll determine the rooms available on that Tuesday for the next week. And so we'll have that cadence of every week making either a decision on what we need or what we have that we can run. The biggest thing is still right now, outside of the infections and everything else, is really ICU bed availability. We've prioritized the needs each day. I've given an advanced week look at the schedule to senior leadership, but we'll need to make sure, I think the one big thing here is we'll need to ensure that we have a slot identified before we start a case. So we know we have a bed, we know we have a landing spot for those patients before we go ahead and start and put ourselves in a position where if we don't have somewhere for that patient to go to provide post-operative care. And so we started that process. We're doing it this morning, just making sure that for the 3 ICU beds that we have on the schedule today, that we have a spot for them before we kick it off. Next, all right, and Ross, anything to add?
Oh, that's perfect. Thanks, John.
All right, next slide. And so just a reminder on some of the logistics of this. Again, I know there's cases out there in terms of backlog, and we have cases waiting. Please use the REDCap survey link for your scoring moving forward. We'll continue to postpone the scheduling of additional elective cases through the 31st. And that in general just helps us with flexibility to prioritize those MENTS scored cases that are less than 50 right now to make sure they get on the schedule and anything that's been displaced. The one thing I wanted to note and just make sure everyone's aware, the services, you may swap cases with more urgent needs, You will not lose your spot. So if you have a patient who is more urgent on the schedule and you need to reschedule one and swap them, we can do that. So that's just go through the CAT scheduling office and we'll make sure that those swaps are made. We'll continue that room reduction and open schedule through the end of February, just as our staffing levels improve. And so again, continuing to monitor when people are coming off orientation, what can we do in terms of expanding and getting more locations running in the OR as quickly as possible. Next slide.
Yeah, hang on one sec. Two quick reminders. No need to fill out a men's form for inpatients. Those inpatients will always be prioritized, so please, you don't have to do that. And with the red cap now, we're able to see all of the scoring, so you don't have to worry about sending it to us. So thank you for those of you who have continued to do it. I'll save you a step in work. You don't have to send the forms. We're able to access them.
Okay, next slide. And we're done.
Great. There's a comment in the chat. I don't know if you wants to handle that, and if there's any other questions that anybody likes to ask of John or Ross.
See Neil's comment, and I know it's a constant frustration of his. So Neil, thank you for bringing it up again. We get it. We try to do the best that we can. I don't have a perfect answer for you. It seems it's a hard question to answer effectively. So we'll continue to do the best we can with that.
Anybody on the anybody in the audience have questions? Great, thanks very much, John and Ross. It's a really difficult time, and we've been weathering it amazingly well, considering the alternatives and what we might have had to do. So thanks very much. Let's move on to the promotions committee update. This is really exciting work. Dr. Donington has been leading a reevaluation and reassessment of our approach as a department to promotions, ways that we as a department can agree on and try to way for broader discussions across the BSD about how promotions work. This springs out of our collective departmental efforts and discussions around diversity. Has really gone through some really important this year. So let me turn it over to Dr. Donington.
Thank you very much. Julian, if you can go to the next slide. And I'm sorry that I borrowed Dr. Milner's link. So I am not Ross Milner, in case anyone was wondering.
We are all Ross Milner. It's like I am Spartacus moment.
Okay. So the goal of this new committee was not to drive promotions, but to help guide them. Our goals were to define the benchmarks and approach to promotions that would blend both the traditional and non-traditional activities of our department. We needed it to be relevant and equitable across all sections. We also think it's really important to communicate the promotion principles and practices to the faculty and to increase communications about promotions in general. We also wanted to develop metrics and track the faculty promotion and progress toward that. And we want to make sure that we had engaged the sectional leadership and aligned with their plans and their goals. And then finally, we wanted to make sure to interdigitate the departmental initiatives and things like DEI and professional development. Next slide. This is the promotions committee. We've had a couple changes due to some of our faculty who are no longer here, but we did our best to make it diverse, not only in terms of gender and race, but also of rank and subspecialty. And we'll do our best to try and make sure that all of the sections are represented. It has been a wonderful group to work with some really diverse and strong voices. Next slide. So our process, how did we go about this? Well, we started by looking at our own promotion criteria from the Office of Academic Affairs, and then we reviewed promotion criteria from similar institutions. We then worked on developing benchmarks for 3 of the institutional missions, and those are education, clinical care, and scholarly endeavors. Then we created 2 documents, which we will review here. First was a promotion discussion aid, And then the second is a survey, which we created in conjunction with DEI, that will go to each assistant and associate professor on an annual basis. And then we worked out what we would consider our schedule throughout the year. Next slide. So the promotions discussion aid. This was developed to help section chiefs communicate faculty's achievements during our interdepartmental promotion discussion. We felt that some of those discussions were not as fair, some meandered, and we really wanted there to be metrics to help guide that. This aid is built around our department's recognition of contributions to those 3 institutional missions: education, scientific discovery, and clinical care. And the tables contain benchmarks within each mission that are commonly associated with promotion. What's really important for everyone to understand is that no candidate is required or expected to check all of the boxes to qualify for promotion. Rather, we think that most successful promotion packets have people who qualify somewhere between 12 and 15 benchmarks across all the missions. But again, it's important to recognize that every package is unique and no one is going to fill them all the same. We also thought it was important to recognize that our department values advocacy, service, and social justice, and that achievements in these areas, while they can't serve as the sole reason for promotion, can very much offset deficits which may exist within the primary missions. Again, most packets might catch 12 to 15, but there will be individuals who don't because of exceptional work in one of these other areas. We're going to go through the aid now so you guys can have a look at what it is, and I will be happy to share it with the whole department when we're done. Next slide. So these are the benchmarks we put together in the realm of education. I think it's important for you all to know that positive evaluations from learners are essential for successful promotion for anyone involved in clinical care with students and trainees, and that is irrespective of track or interest. Everybody needs good evaluations. And then we took these educational benchmarks and we put them into basic areas, ones that really look at your regional and national reputation, those that are centered around residency and fellowship, ACGME contributions, and finally those that center around Pritzker. I'd originally thought of having a separate form for assistants, for associate professor and professors, but I realized as we use this and check it, that there are people who maybe are primarily going up for associate, but lo and behold, they do check a couple of those professor boxes, and that is really an important thing to note. Next slide. This then looks at components of clinical care. And again, as a clinical department, excellence in clinical care is essential for successful promotion of anyone who participates in clinical care. And this is primarily for the BSD faculty. So again, essential for all of us. And again, this really centers around those people who have really built exceptional programs, who lead exceptional missions, who do a lot of interdepartmental and extramural teaching. Next slide. And then finally, scholarship and research. Some of these are some of the traditional metrics we think about for promotion, but clearly they go way beyond this. So this does really focus on people and give you credit for things like grant funding, trial participation, and of course your publication records. If you want to look down to where we got the 15, the 50, the 10, and the 22 on H-index and stuff, those actually just correlate with what our department does. This is what our faculty looks like, and so that's how we got those numbers. We did talk about using things like Google Scholar. Is that a more relevant metric compared to these publications and H-index because it's a little more up to date? It may be, and I very much feel like this should be discussion aid 1.0 because I assume this will evolve over time. Next slide. This was the most challenging part because there were not a lot of benchmarks from other institutions or even in our own Office of Academic Affairs to tell us how do we judge people here. And again, no promotion requires that you get judged for these, but this is really designed for those people who are exceptional and provide that extra contribution to our institution and department. And really anchoring this has been challenging. So I do think that this is the part which will change the most as we move forward. But this is, again, made for people who have made exceptional contributions that don't really fall within the other 3 missions. Next slide. This is the annual Assistant and Associate Faculty Survey. And this was done with DEI, and this first part of it is because we actually don't have ways to collect most of these metrics. These are the demographics, and there's a lot of demographics here. We want your sex, your gender, your race, your ethnicity, your disability status, your veteran status. These are all drop downs. You don't have to answer any of them, and they're all self-identified. Once you fill this part out, you will never have to fill it out again. It will go into REDCap and we can track it going forward. Next slide. This part you will fill out annually. And this tells us a little bit about where you are in your promotions process from your own point of view. You declare your interests and then you tell us what your achievements have been. This we track every year, and we would like you to give us a CV every year. Keeping your CV up to date is a really important part of the promotion process. And so if we can ask you to do that every year, that will help us. Next slide. Then the schedule of how this should all work. Ideally, we would like to survey the assistant associate faculty in around March of April each year. That all goes into the REDCap database and we keep track of it. Then in May and June, we would like to sit in small groups from the promotions committee and each of the chiefs to go through each of their assistant and associate faculty to see if the chief agrees with what each of the faculty members feels about their promotion, and we can make sure that everyone is on track. If we feel that there is a faculty member who might not be on track, or that what the chief sees and what the faculty members see are very different, that then starts to get raised, and we start to engage people like Dr. Alberti and Dr. Matthews as to what's going on and does there need to be an intervention. Also, as part of this, we would like to have annual promotion workshops with the assistant and associate professors. Dr. Pinto will help us here. Again, our job is not really to approve or say people should be promoted. It's to provide framework, infrastructure, and tools to help with it. So I think having someone from the dean's office is really important as that. And then we will kind of on a quarterly basis go through this with any new faculty and then hopefully update you guys as the changes along the way. So I'm sorry if I took too long. I am open to questions at this point.
Thanks very much. That was really rather very succinct. And just to put this again, all in context, for faculty that are the vast majority of faculty that are on the SOM track, the department has the ability to calibrate what we believe is outstanding and meritorious for promotion. We want to make that internally consistent, and we want to be as explicit as we can so that the promotion process is as fair and transparent as it can possibly be, and that people know what path they're on and whether they're being successful. We want to get away from the idea that there is a time-based promotion thing, or that that there's only one historical traditional way to promotion, and reflect sort of the evolving attitudes and thoughts about what it means to be an outstanding academic faculty member at the University of Chicago. Dr. Gluth has his hand up. Mike? You're muted. Did you want to talk, Mike? You're on mute. Not sure. Maybe that was maybe the hand wasn't intentional. Any comments or questions from anybody else? Okay, I'm not sure. Dr. Gluth, did you have a question? Can't tell. Yes, still muted there. Okay, why don't we go on to then we'll look forward to the implementation of this and to hearing more about how this is being whether we believe that this is been a good innovation and good progress. It's all very exciting work. I love the fact that it's broadly participatory and that there's been a lot of new eyes on the process. I think it's going to really help us going forward. And again, really leading the way in some of these ideas. I talked to other department chairs who really haven't gotten their departments or their institutions to really be focusing on these kinds of discussions and sort of modernizing the promotions process and discussions through the lens of DEI. Dr. Alberti and Janine, give us a quick research update.
Go ahead, Janine. I think you're first.
No, you are.
Oh, okay. This is the Huggins update. Just to let everybody know, abstract scores will be collated January 25th. Winners are notified the next day. Save the date where the full agenda will be sent the following day. Posters for viewing and voting will be on February 9th, the event date. There'll be many reminders coming out of Dr. Matthews' office and my office and Ms. Grohar's office about February 16th. Next. There'll be in-person versus virtual meeting format still remains undecided. It's dependent on many things, as you all know. What we're currently going through in terms of the surge and the spiking and travel issues for the keynote speaker, which are becoming more and more complex. There'll still be a poster session, faculty presentations, resident lightning round presentations. We've expanded this year to include all sections, not just general surgery. Award categories are all remain intact. Next. Just as a reminder, this is my last slide. This is our keynote speaker, Sir Peregni from Mass General Boston at the Harvard Medical School, and she's a fantastic speaker, and we hope to have her here in person. We still have 5 weeks, so we don't know yet. I don't know, Jeff, if you want to make a comment on.
Yeah, I've been in touch with Dr. Peregni. She's amazing. Known her for decades, and she's a brilliant speaker, brilliant researcher, endocrine surgeon. She's now chief of surgery at Newton Wellesley, which is one of the MGH affiliate hospitals, but just recently moved there from the main campus. She'll be great. She really wants to come. She's wants to do everything possible to. She doesn't want to be the one to say no. And so far, we don't have a campus restriction on allowing her to come. The question really will be, what can we do in terms of the actual event itself, and how much gathering can we do versus, we'll definitely have the hybrid option no matter what, to like we've had in the past. But how much we can do actually in person remains to be seen. I know she wants to meet with people and really looks forward to being here. She's got a kid at Northwestern too.
Okay, I'll make this quick. Oh, I do want to make a note that I have hired somebody to take pages over the basic science administrator role. So she'll be starting mid-February. I'm really, really excited. She currently works in the Animal Resource Center, and so she's familiar with the university, which is good. Next slide. So right now we, in FY21, we submitted 81 proposals and we received 11.64 million, which is awesome. For FY22, we've already received 7.06 million in funding. At this pace, we project 14.2 million in funding received, which would be a 22% increase above the previous year. So far, we have submitted 42 proposals, 29 federal. Right now, I was told we have about 73 so far. And I think that we will definitely exceed, or 73 total, we'll definitely exceed those numbers for next year. And we're really, really excited. The team's been working really hard. I just want to remind everyone that the timelines and deadlines for grant submissions are on our intranet. There's the link. I appreciate those who let us know early. We're more successful when we know early, and a lot of us rush. We are dependent on URA a lot, and they're delayed in a lot of ways. So we will work with you, and please reach out to me if questions with regards to those timelines. Next slide. just a reminder about the startup funds that are available, and we really encourage it. You can reach out to me for the application to get in the, a time slot. We meet every third Wednesday between 2 and 3, and below is a list of the faculty who are part of that group.
And I should add that we are always looking for interested faculty to add to that committee. Anybody who is interested in joining the research strategy committee, please reach out to me or Dr. Alberti.
That's it.
Great, thank you so much. It's really exciting to see the progress and the success with the reorganization of the research office, and really, I think, a redoubling of enthusiasm to submit research grants, get them out, and get them successfully funded. We're, to see a 20% year-over-year increase in departmental funding over multiple years is pretty remarkable. So congratulations to all the faculty. Dr. Angelos, want to give us a wellness update?
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be quick. I think that it is, I'm not telling you anything that everyone doesn't know, but it's a challenging time. And I think it's a challenging time because it seemed like we were going to be in a better place than we are. And so, that's tough. I think that professionally, it's difficult with the constraints in the OR and staffing, as you've heard. I think personally, for many of us, socially, it's difficult. For those with children who are having issues with classes and not being able to go to school, et cetera. So I guess I would just remind everyone that there are a lot of resources within the institution, but the most important resources I think that we have are the community of our colleagues. And so I would urge everyone, be a little bit more patient with our colleagues, be a little bit more patient with our residents and staff. And, really, I would sincerely ask people, if you have a concern, talk to me, talk to your colleagues, talk to your chiefs. I think that, this is a time to support each other as best we can, because there's no easy fix for this other than, trying to be the community that I think we are. So thanks very much, Jeff.
Thanks, Dr. Angelos. Let's move on to the quality update. Dr. Prashant.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Matthews. So I just wanted to put this slide up to compare our performance with regards to the hospital safety score. The fall score came out in November, and you can see how we compare it to our peer institution. One thing I would highlight is that the methodology changes from period to period. So with the newest methodology, postoperative sepsis, hemorrhage, and AKI is incorporated in the scoring system, and so far we're doing well. But that may be accounting for some of the declines that you see in some of our peer institutions in the Chicagoland area. Next slide. Just a couple words about MENTS. Thank you all for your engagement with it. And I just want to point out that the score threshold, as Dr. Milner and the Periop team has set at 50, that is meant to be a flexible number. And so a score of greater than 50, while it may be a no-go case today, based on the circumstances and the resources, those thresholds may change. And as you probably saw from the scoring process, there's been some modest changes to take into account COVID vaccination status, prior infection, as well as a greater weight placed on ICU bed and hospital bed length of stay issues, since those are the more significant resource constraints currently. And I also want to give a special acknowledgement to Dr. Jennifer Sang for having updated the link itself. You've also, when you have been able to do cases in the operating room, you've probably noticed that the OR nurses are documenting additional information with regards to SSI reduction bundle elements with changing of gown and gloves, and use of wound protectors and occlusive dressing. At the beginning of the cases, closing instruments should be kept separately. The nurses know this, and in order to meet this requirement, additional instruments have been added to all the trays as of this past September. And if any of you are interested in seeing how you are doing with regards to chlorhexidine treatment the night before and the day of surgery, the dashboard in Tableau gives you the opportunity to look at your own results as well as by section and procedure. Next slide. Finally, we do want to continue to do work to improve some key areas that impact our rankings with US News and World Report, and ultimately are going to be impacting issues with regards to our contracting with insurance and so forth, value-based purchasing and all. And from a departmental perspective, one of the key ways in which we're doing this is a broader implementation of enhanced recovery. I've just kind of listed here in this table both the current activities that have already been taking place for some time, as well as the planned activities by the different sections for this upcoming year. And this is really a key way for us to create more access so that we can get more cases done and continue to improve and hopefully get on the US News and World Report honor roll by 2025. Even for patients that aren't in the enhanced recovery protocols, again, it's important to really work on incorporating post-discharge phone calls between 2 and 7 days after discharge. I've had a number of faculty approach me, giving me anecdotal stories of prevention of readmissions or even ER visits with those contacts. A template for the call is available, and there's actually been some recent published data showing that this can help to reduce those events as well. So I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Dr. Prashant. Any questions anybody like or comments anybody would like to make about this? Not just Dr. Prashant mentioned the US News and World Report activities. We're starting to get into that season. I want to encourage everybody to use Doximity, be aware in the next 6 weeks. I think the voting will go out for institutional rankings and things. So be on the lookout for that and answer those things early and often. The most important votes that come are for people that are outside of our that aren't actually affiliated with us. So in the past, it didn't matter if you voted for your own institution or somebody else's institution, they were counted the same. The new methodology is that voting for your own institution is discounted compared to a vote that we get from a colleague. So with that in mind, I think there's going to be more interest and effort in sort of spreading the good news about the work that our department does in our various subspecialties. And I think one way to think about that is going through our annual report. It's live, it's accessible on our website. And the link is here. We'll circulate this. There's also a QR code, and you might want to consider, and we're going to help and send around an email template so that you can send not only to our alumni, but to some of your colleagues in your personal networks, just to remind them of the work that we're doing, and sort of like the Grammys for your consideration kind of appeal. We can send some of the good word out to individuals who might include us on the 5 institutions that they submit through Doximity. The annual report came together through the efforts of the section administrators and section leaderships and all of the faculty, but mostly because of Julian Owens and his incredible work that he does centrally to coordinate it. And this year's annual report is absolutely incredible, focuses in on a lot of our younger faculty, telling lots of stories about what inspired them and how we're investing in their future. So it's all, there's great photographs, there's some videos, there's all sorts of interesting things, fun to look through this and see what's going on You want to get to that last page there, Julian? I think where the QR code. Oh no, I thought there was one where you had the QR code. Oh, there it is. Yeah, if you scan that QR code, it takes you directly to the annual report, and so that's kind of fun as well. And so I think an email sent out to colleagues with that link, with that QR code, might be the kind of thing that reminds them to think of us when they respond to these U.S. News and World Report surveys. Finally, let's go on, Julian. Just the usual faculty news. I'm only going to mention the new appointments and promotions that we have, and there'll be lots of then kudos and other things that are listed and that will circulate around to the department. Go ahead, Julian. Oh, that's the promotion. So I guess we'll do the promotion first. Okay. Dr. Deb Leff in pediatric surgery, successfully promoted to associate professor, effective in November. She's been with us since 2008, starting as a clinical associate with our new affiliation with Advocate, but then becoming full faculty and now being promoted to associate professor. So congratulations, Dr. Leff. Next. Some of our new faculty in general surgery. Dr. Jennifer Gambla is a new clinical associate, expert in breast surgery. She comes from the Palos Health system, where she was the director of women's health, and she's now establishing a practice out at Orland at Silver Cross and Tinley Park, and we're delighted that she's joined our department as a clinical associate. Very talented and busy surgeon. Next. Our own Mari Bache Rodriguez in pediatric surgery will be staying on as faculty, completing her fellowship and joining us with her advanced credentials in surgical critical care as well at our one of our advocate sites. So congratulations to Mari for joining us as assistant professor. Next. In the section of trauma, Dr. Abid Khan is joining us and has just joined us as an assistant professor of surgery in trauma and acute care surgery. He trained here in Chicago and is well known to many of our residents and junior faculty during his time as a resident at Cook County and Rush. And he, for the last number of years, has been practicing trauma and critical care out in Colorado, and is now making his triumphant return to Chicago. And we're thrilled that he's joining us on our faculty here. He's well known as an excellent teacher and an outstanding surgeon. So welcome, Abid, and welcome aboard. And I think that's all of the new faculty that's appointed. We have accolades. The top docs came out for 2022. As you know, I have mixed feelings about all these rankings things, but it's always nice to see our faculty so well represented across all the different disciplines. And, I think double or triple the number should be listed on those things, but they are what they are. And then I think we're not going to go through all these slides, Julian. We'll send these all around because there's so many, and the hour is late. I want to let people get to the OR and get about their work. So we'll circulate that. Does anybody have any issues that they want to raise or ask me to address here while we have another a minute or two? Be happy to address any questions or any issues anybody wants to raise. I know it's not the easiest of formats to do that, but hopefully by the time the next quarterly meeting comes around, we'll have the opportunity to do a little bit more gathering and interacting. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully we're on the tail end of this latest surge, and we'll get back to some semblance of normal. All right, thank you everybody for your continued hard work. It's been a tough couple of weeks. I think we have some daylight ahead. And things will are starting to turn around, and you can see all the incredible work that's being done in all of our missions, despite the challenges of the pandemic. So thanks everybody, and let's get back to it.